Hey everybody, welcome to Ellis Mowers. We're going to do a classic Frankenmower, is what we like to call it in the business today. I have a green push mower that has a good engine and a bad frame, and a red push mower frame that has no engine because the engine blew up in it. So let me give you a tour of both real quick before we get started, and we'll get rolling on this. So the green one I got for free. It is a Bolens look-alike. No, it is actually a Bolens by MTD, the classic 550 series Briggs on it. The reason why it's got oil on the deck is I think it's been turned all which way for whatever reason. It's been leaking it out of the muffler there. So, like I said, I did get this for free. It needs at least a carb diaphragm in it. I think the guy tried to get it running, and he's put some sort of weird thing on here, and the air filter's filled with oil as well. So that's probably, we might just have a lot of oil in the carburetor, to be honest with you. But this is the mulching setup with the potential bag on the back if you decide to go that route. The good news is this has got the long blade adapter on it. You can see the blades spun around on it as well. I don't know, the wild card about this one is it does shake when it runs, and like I said, the frame is busted on it, probably because they ran it with it vibrating like that. So whenever I see a busted frame like this, I usually just scrap the frame. I'll usually keep the wheels if I can keep the wheels and stuff. Break everything down. I'll keep the handle as well, because those handles come in handy. Have a good cable out of it as well, a good bail arm also. This one right here should be a good one for us. It's a little bit of, it's actually a mishmash of stuff as it is. My dad had it for a while and used it to cut his yard with it. He ended up getting a new or a different push mower for free, and he started using that. So, or put the engine on a different frame, something along those lines. So he let me have this back. This is one of my customer return lawnmowers that I got, that the engine was blown on it. I didn't have a handle or anything. I just had the frame, gave that to him. He used it for a while. He said, you can have the frame back. So took the frame back. He fabricated this handle as well as the cable. The handle came off of an electric push mower, and so did the cable came off of like a Murray or something. So like I said, the mishmash of a bunch of different side discharge chute off of the electric mower. So we got a little bit of mishmash going on here, but the frame is good and it's very usable for what I'm going to try and do here. So let's get started. This should not be terrible because I don't have a bunch of rust on the bolts and stuff like that. So I will get some PB Blaster. I'll get it over there in the little area so I don't get oil and all that stuff on my concrete here. We'll get this thing off. We will put it on this mower, and once we do that, we'll see if we can get it running. And then I am going to have to change out the blade the wheel adapters here as well, just so I got the right wheels on it, but just so that the adapters and whatnot work correctly, because he cut his grass really high, and this is the way the push mower is set up. For 95% of other people, they need something a lot lower. So let me go ahead and get started. I will set y'all up over here. We'll turn this over, get this mower engine off of this frame and onto this one. Alright, we'll go ahead and get started. Usually before I break the mower down, I like to get the engine off of it, because I use the handle kind of as leverage to keep the mower sideways, as opposed to getting turned upside down and getting oil in the wrong places on the engine. This is a 5/8 bolt. Just going to use my 1/2 inch impact here to get this off. don't know if the blade is bent. I think. Let's see. Blade kind of looks bent, although it was not on the mower, right? So, all right. So that's the key. You see how deep the key is right there. So that adds another inch or two. So this is a relatively short shaft here. It kind of looks a little bent, but we'll see once we get it on the other mower if it is, or if it was just the way that that blade was situated there. I don't really know for sure because of the way that this frame is. It won't give me a good reading. So the shaft does look a little bent, but like I said, we're going to see what happens when I get it all on the other mower. See if a 20-inch blade versus a 21-inch makes any difference, as well as the shorter shaft length. Sometimes I can have slightly bent shafts and still be okay. If not, we'll use some persuasion. How about that? All right, 5/8. Half inch will take off these 3 bolts. One other thing that I do, I'll do it after I get the engine off. We'll take off that cable for the safety. I usually like to go slow with them so that the engine just doesn't come falling off. Last bolt I will hold the engine on. Now, before I completely dismount it, I'm just going to take some pliers. This is really easy. I'll do it off camera. Pliers will get this cable out of here. You just slide that Z-bend out it, and it's off. And so I'm going to do that. Get the engine off. We'll get the setup onto the red deck over there. Try it out. Alright, here's the new deck that we're going to put this engine on. As you can see, the shaft might be a little low on it, but it's not bad. And it to me it kind of looks bent, but I'm not 100% still. Won't know until I really get it mounted on. Here's the things I'm going to be doing a little bit differently on this, as opposed to taking it off. I'm going to add these little washers type deals. They come on these AYP Husqvarna non-MTD made ones. So let me grab the bolts. We'll thread the bolts in, and you know, do the whole thing with shaft and whatnot, and make everything look pretty. And there's also 2 different designs of bolts here I'm going to show you. These have the lock nuts on them. I don't like them as much. Let me grab the ones I'm going to put on this mower, and I'll get back with y'all in just a second. Alright, I got everything I needed. I've already got the 3 bolts kind of in there, but anyways, they look like this. They kind of got more of a flash head, and they don't a flat head instead of like a locking washer. And they have a little bit more surface area. It's a 9/16 versus a half. I like that set up a little bit better. And then I'll show you. I've put those little kind of spacer washers in there. It helps kind of space out the load of the engine on the deck. That way it's not going to crack, hopefully like the other one did. And so what I've done, since these are different bolts going into another engine, is I'm going to eventually use the impact on them, but I'm just using a little 3/8 inch ratchet to start. And just kind of making sure that they're in there. A good few threads. That way I'm not stripping threads or anything like that. Alright. That one on the top's the hardest, but let me get the 9/16 on the impact. I don't really get too crazy with these because I'll tighten them down with the 3/8 ratchet. The last thing you want to do is break them off. They're pretty tight as it is. They don't need a ton of torque. Alright, so it's on. Let me sort out the situation for the blade, and we'll put the blade on. Alright, we're going to put the new blade on. I did have to find a shorter mounting bolt for the blade since this adapter is shorter. As you can see here. Real easy. We're going to slide it in. This is a 20-inch universal blade. Kind of like to hand thread it 5/8. I don't see it terribly bent, so that's kind of promising. Let's get it, I might get it on the concrete even though it's leaking oil a little bit from all sides, truthfully. Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna attach this cable here. Okay, now I just want to make sure it's not vibrating like it was on the other mower. If so, we'll have to use some persuasion. Yeah, it's got a little vibration to it. Alright, we'll have to use some persuasion on it. Let me get the right tools. Let's see if we can get this thing to where it won't do that anymore. Alrighty, let me show you best I can. I've got, hopefully the shaft is on the high position, the high spot on it. I don't know if y'all can see, it's bent up just slightly. It's just slightly bent. It's not terrible. So what I'm going to do is use a little bit of persuasion. This is, yeah. Safety glasses. And what I usually do, I've done this a few times, I just hit the shaft directly on the head about 5 or 6 times with some good old wax. And what happens, happens. So let's do this. These shafts are pretty stubborn because they are kind of hard. Let's see. In all honesty, that does look a little better. Alright, so this is just, like I said, just trial and error stuff. I'm gonna try it right there, and I'll do trial and error. I've shown you the process, and we'll see how straight we can get it to where it's gonna vibrate a little bit. The shaft's never gonna be perfect again, but as long as we can get it to a manageable point, then we'll be in good shape. Alright, so the mower looks like a hot mess now because it's been puking oil all over the place where I've been rotating it, and the oil's been in all places that it shouldn't be. Let me crank it. I want to see if y'all can see the difference. Let me get you a little bit closer. Again, I got a diaphragm issue with it still, but it is 100 times smoother and totally doable. So, totally workable in that case. So let me get it back on the bench. We will check the condition of the carburetor, because I have a feeling there's a bunch of oil everywhere in this thing. Actually, I might try and take the air filter off of it just to see if I can clean the oil out of the gas tank. Give me just 1 second, I'll be right back. Alrighty, y'all, I got it up on here. Let me get you in the right position. I will grab my 1/2 inch ratchet, and I gotta grab some snips. Let me show you real quick. So this guy tried to work on it himself, from what I was told. Got this from a family member who got it from his neighbor. So what I can see right now is this has got a zip tie on it. This, I don't know if the spring's been replaced or something along those lines. It seems like it wants to run a little fast. I can push that tab back and make it run a little slower. It doesn't really have any oil in it because, as you can see, it's basically puked it all out right here. So we're going to get the gas tank off. A couple of snips. And I've got, I don't know how many of those 3/8 inch bolts that I can fit into that right there, so I'm not concerned about that. Oh, I see the issue. And I kind of figured that might have been the issue. Which means I'm going to have to go a little, I'll show you in just a second when I get the gas tank off. Haven't had this issue in a while, honestly. It's the intake tube broke on it. So, you see that? That is not supposed to come out with the tank. Get that spring off of there. Let's see what we can do here. I'm just going to get this tube off before I can get the rest of the tank off. There we go. So I've got a split intake tube, likely from not having the gas tank on there properly. Looks like my gaskets in the back are on there correctly. So this turned out to be a little bit bigger job than we originally set out for. A lot of oil in the tank. We can burn that off and clean that off with carb cleaner. In all honesty, I think the carb diaphragm is good. Obviously, once it was trying to get into the mode of running, it was sucking way too much air from this broken intake tube. So, let me grab the proper tools. I just need 2 5/16 on the top here, 1 and 2, and I need some 3/8. So let me grab my small impact. We'll get this off. I'll show you the intake tube. We'll replace it, and then we'll put everything back together. Since the camera's not high enough to show you, I'm going to show you. Those are my 5/16. They could be a quarter, actually. I might have lied. I did. That's okay, because that's what the intake tube is as well. That sounds good. Got to take the dipstick out to get this cover over it. It also clips on the back, the front there, so get that off. We'll just toss that aside for now. Now your 3/8 inch. 1 right here. Number 2's right there. Number 3's on the other side, exactly in the same spot. So this little cover that came off is the little cover that'll go right back on. It protects your little throttle linkage. That's kind of the new style classic. Alright, so the dipstick in this instance will come out with that, and we can access the intake tube right here. Right there. 2/4 inch bolts will take that off. I think we can slide it through without having to take the coil off, but if we don't, we'll take the coil off as well. So those are pretty delicate. Let me get you over here. We're going to take off the tube. I'm just going to use a socket and ratchet for this. When I break down these classic engines, like if they're blown up or they're pushing oil out or whatever, I always make sure that I keep 1 or 2 of these intake tubes around. I don't keep a lot of parts inventory because I'm not a person that really likes clutter. So, alright, so let me show you another thing to note here. Oh, never mind. I thought they were 2 different sizes. They're the same size, so you don't have to worry about what side you put them back on. Pull that off. The gasket's in great shape. It stayed on the block. Here's your breakage point. This is why you put your gas tank on correctly. Of course, the bent shaft probably had a little bit to do with it too, but we'll chuck this in the trash here in just a second. Let me go into my stash and I'll get you another intake tube to put on. Alright, so I pulled out 2 that I have. They're basically the same thing. If you check the length, it's all the same, all that good stuff. Same diameter tube. The only difference that I see is that, I don't know if you can see that it's a little bit different the way that where the gasket seals. However, this seals over a bigger surface area. It's the same size hole, and this just seals in a different way. Everything else looks the same. I don't see any reason why this won't work. So let's put it on. Let's see if I can squeeze it through there. I don't know if I'll be able to. No. So let's take the coil off. 1/4 inch bolts. I've worked on probably, I don't know, over 100 of these over the years, most likely. And this is, I think, only the 2nd or 3rd one that I've ever seen with a busted intake tube on it. So, alright, I'm just going to leave that dangling. We're going to put the new intake tube here. We'll thread that, make sure you don't get any dirt and stuff down there. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to put that above the tube. That way we eliminate any problems with that. Put my screws in. Like I said, it seals a little bit differently, but it's going to do serve the exact same purpose that the other one did. This is, like I said, this is a newer style. It's got a little bit different throttle setup and whatnot than most of them. So it's kind of like a minor update. They probably did some cost cutting, to be honest with you. Throw the 1/4 inch on. These, I will caution you, are very easy to strip, so be very careful when you tighten them up. Just get them snug. Call it a day right there. Alright, put the coil back on. If you want to gap it to 10 thousandths, that's what you're supposed to do. I usually eyeball them on these push mowers. These classic engines are probably run with like a 40 thousandths gap. They're very stubborn. Not stubborn in terms of it takes a lot to kill them. You got to really try to kill one of these engines in order for it to not work. My arm's right in the way. The left side is good, the right side. Spark plugs attached. That would explain it. Okay. All right. New intake tube is on. Y'all saw me how to take, y'all saw how I took everything off. So let's put it back on now. Alright, take tube, and we already have the gaskets and stuff on the back here, so just a ton of oil on it, which I'll wash off. Put the V-bend back in here. I'm going to tighten up this can I? Just want to tighten up this breather tube as well, but I think that's about as good as I'm going to get. It's just a little loose as well. Be careful with these too, because you can easily break them. All right. As you can see, new one slides right on there. Intake tube, I need to move over just a little bit more. Okay. It's probably as good as I can get it. Works just fine. All right, spring. I'll do this. All right, spring's back on. Might have to bend it back just a tad, which I'll do now. Alright, all that's left to do, 1/2 inch, 3/8, 3/8 in the front. Two 3/8 on the sides. I got that little guard for the throttle I got to put in as well. And I'll throw some oil in it and we'll start her up. Alright everybody, the mower's topped off with oil. Put back together. I have the air filter off of it still just because it's got a bunch of oil on it. So let's prime it, see how it runs, if it runs at all. Alright, we went from running too fast to too slow. Let me get the vice grips and I'm just going to try and work on it a little bit. Probably got a lot of oil in the fuel and oil on the plug, so I'm going to let it run a while. I'm going to find the correct mounting hardware for those wheels, and we're going to swap that out next. Alright, we're in the process. We're going to change the wheels over to the right deal here. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to use a 3/4 inch to hold this, and I believe a 9/16 inch to take that bolt off right there. Use a 3/4 inch wrench, 9/16 ratcheting wrench. Alright. pretty straightforward. As long as you can get it all off here. Need a little bit bigger persuasion here. Just this. Alright. So the object is, I can see my fingers getting mashed right there. Wow. To get that bolt off. Really easy. Should be really easy. So get that off, and then get the this whole assembly comes off with it. So let me find the right tools for the job, and we'll get it off. Alright, this has been a little bit of trial and error. I wanted to make sure it was right before I put it on video. We're going to start out by taking this 9/16 off on this side for the wheel. I've got one on this wheel as well. I just need to take it off. So we're going to use this wheel mechanism to put on the front here. Like I said, this was retrofitted because I didn't really have any of these at the time when I had the mower, or I wanted to keep them, one of the two, I can't remember. But anyways, what's on here is a 3/4 inch and a 9/16. I use a 3/4 inch ratcheting and a 9/16 regular. And we just take it off. We'll keep these mechanisms just in case we have a need for them at a later time. Never hurts to have wheel mechanisms, or like height adjusters, whatever you want to call them. Okay. So here's our new one. Instead of a instead of a 9/16 on the back, it is a 1/2 inch. Again, basically we're making something out of nothing here. So I wanted y'all to follow along on the entire journey this time, just so y'all could see exactly what we're doing. Alright, so let me show you. So the wheel is facing the wrong way, so what I'm going to do is take this bolt out, switch this around to the other side. Don't lose your little locking washer there. So I had two rights, and two rights don't make a left, unfortunately. So now what I have done now, once I get this back in, is I have switched it from a right front height adjuster to a left front height adjuster. Basically just switches the sides that this goes on. So here we go. Alright, we're back on now, facing forward. This mower originally did not have height adjusters. It was one of those you pick a hole and go with it. So we're going to put it in there. And we'll put it in the top, so the little latch portion, semicircle portion, goes on the second, or goes on the very top. Actually, excuse me, I may be wrong here. No, I'm right. It's just a little bit higher than the other height adjuster for some reason. Anyways. Use the 1/2 inch and the 3/4 ratchet. Kind of strange, honestly. I think it's a slightly different setup. Than the other way. So go ahead and put this on. Just kind of make it nice and snug. But you can still adjust it like you need to. So now we'll put the wheel on and the 9/16 inch nut that goes with it, which I have seemed to misplace. There it is. Alright, so that's in. Let's see what we've got here. Alright, so that's far up. That's far up. I wonder if this deck's a little twisted or something along those lines. We can make that work though. This isn't going to be like the nicest mower on the block or anything. So we'll make that work. And I'll move on to the back. My battery's dying. I might let y'all charge for a little while as I work on the back, and I'll just show you what I do. Alrighty, I'm going to give you a walk around. I know I kind of showed you a bunch of stuff that I did on this. I went ahead and did the back while the camera was charging. It was the same concept as the front basically, except all I did was I had to bend this tab out right here because it went on another deck. This deck right here was not designed for adjustable wheels. We put adjustable wheels on it. The height basically is the same on each side, except this one on this side is a little bit lower than the rest, or this one's a little bit higher than the rest, I should say. So this deck actually, if you look really closely, has a little bit of a bend in the front of it, which is why I used it kind of as a parts deck, along with, I think the engine was blown on this one. It's been 3 years since or 2.5 since I got the deck. So now it's finally found a permanent home, so to speak. Put the sheet metal or the self-tapping screws back in to secure the handle, which is a little bit smaller than the opening for the receiver portion of it. But it's good. I gave it a wash. This is its first start after washing it. And I can notify who the potential owner that it's ready, and hopefully he'll come and pick it up. so that's it. Started right up on the first pull. So, in synopsis, y'all saw me do most of the work. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit of a lengthy video. However, I just kind of wanted to show you that Frankenmowers sometimes take a little bit of effort. However, we have successfully turned what was, in essence, junk into something that is worth $75 in about a 2 to 3 hour time span. Probably about 2 hours of actual working on it. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. I know some of y'all are going to be kind of like, well, you shouldn't have done that to the crankshaft. I know. If it wasn't a $75 mower, I would reconsider what I did. But it's not racing like it was. It's perfectly safe to use. A couple whacks. If you watch Henry with mowers and blowers, he does it all the time. And works well. Again, trying to make something out of junk requires a little creativity sometimes. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Y'all can catch me right here at Ellis Mowers 09 on Instagram and Facebook, also on YouTube right here on this channel. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. Got a lot of mower videos coming up Wednesdays and Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and I will catch you then.